Oh, wait. All right. Cloud Foundry Foundation Technical Oversight Committee for the 11th of April 2023. Agenda for today. We have review actions from last week and review PRs, but they are the same thing. So this ought to be reasonably quick. As always, any other PRs I've missed, put them in. Any other agenda items you want to add them in. Otherwise, let's have a quick look at 573. Has everybody had a chance to read through this?
I've taken a pass through it.
Yeah, I have started reading the comments and whatnot, but I've not had a chance to read the body of the text yet because I have been snowed under today.
This is basically the result of the discussions we had during the last Tuesday meeting.
Are the folks here in principle happy with what's being proposed? I mean, I imagine we probably are, given that it's come out of the discussion from last week, but
I think Ruben's comment summarized it at the best. I mean, yes, we want to have the stack in one version without Ruby and Python, and then a compatibility tar GZ with Ruby and Python inside, and then yeah, everybody can take the choice. Regarding the how long, honestly, I would say until the end of the lifetime of Linux FS4 would be my wish. Everything else makes it bumpy to roll that out, because an incompatible change in the lifetime of a stack is a no-go at the end of the day.
Yeah, no, I would agree, and personally.
With regards to implementation, I was just really surprised. Apparently, it's just a Docker file. Huh. Maybe I'm missing something, but it looks really simple. As in, posted it in the chat. It looks like that's the stack.
Yeah. I was expecting Packer or something.
I mean, coming from the stem cell builder, this is like a relief. Stem cell builder has so many layers of horrible things.
Yeah. And different infrastructures.
It's totally different. Yeah, that's a pleasant surprise.
Isn't it just?
Yeah, and it seems like the release process is just, it's not even putting it in an S3 bucket, right? So it's just attaching it to the GitHub release. So there's not even like a storage cost or something involved.
Brilliant. I mean, it seems like I don't want to say a no-brainer, but like a reasonably low-cost thing for us to maintain, or for not us, but you know what I mean, for the foundation to maintain.
Yeah.
Maybe another question is how it will be consumed in the CF deployment.
And CF deployment, or there are interesting ops files that somehow take this artifact and patch it into different areas. I think of Diego and Cloud Controller. I could look up the ops files that at the moment patch in CF Linux FS4, and there
I'm assuming
3 or 4 places where the stuff gets.
But I'm assuming this also gets packaged into a Bosch release. Done, right?
Let's see.
Yeah, it should. That's generally how we've delivered these.
Yeah. No, we have ways of not going through a Bosch release.
Yeah, I'm just looking through my own code base. I think I'm trying to see how we do it, because we've done it slightly differently to others, I think.
Oh, there's a release, so we need also 2 versions of the release.
Yes, there is.
There's a release, yeah.
So then presumably we need the compact version of that release too.
Yes.
This might, well, Beyhan and Stephan, are you thinking, would you supply the two stacks simultaneously?
No, we would choose then just the compatibility version and would also publish that under the name C of Linux FS4, so that we would not want to give two stacks out.
Okay,
If that
and then
works out, then we would maybe with C of Linux FS5, but then right from the beginning, we would say the next version will be without these runtimes. We would deprecate the runtimes, but only verbally. That was the idea that we discussed.
okay, so you'd intend to keep Ruby and Python in the stack image for the lifespan of C of Linux FS4 from your perspective?
Yeah, because we have meanwhile 50K apps running on the stack on 4.
Yeah, I think that just looking at the commentary, I saw Rob commented a few minutes ago on the RFC thread that might be the one remaining thing to resolve, is how long we would actually support this alternate version of the stack with these dependencies. Because I think that they're
yeah, see. So ideally until the end of the lifetime of C of Linux FS4. That would mean until, I don't know, well, in 4 years, basically.
Yeah, so he's asking if it would be possible to have a shorter deprecation window, so where you still allow people to move off of it.
That's tricky. I mean, that means that we have to set a date, dear customers. We don't know whether you are using those packages or not, but we will remove it, and there's no way to test it really upfront.
I mean, that's why I'm wondering if you could supply the alternate version of C of Linux FS4 without those, and they could try their apps against that.
That would be a way to write. And then we say test it with that, and at date X, we exchange the stacks, and we could. I mean, if it's would be possible. I know that every incompatible or any attempt to roll out something that is incompatible, be it v2 deprecation, be it a new stack, and even without that, the customers know that this incompatibility is inside. Just there is a new stack is usually a hell of an effort, and you I can imagine.
Right, it would be like trying to do another one of those within the usual 4-year window.
Yeah. There's another point. We don't need to raise it right now, but to mitigate those problems in the future, maybe we could come to a solution that we ship the new stack every 2 years instead of every 4 years. It increases the maintenance effort, of course, for build packs and for the stack itself. This needs to be judged and seen, but it would, from customer perspective, then give a smoother rollout window without time pressure. I don't know if it solves all problems, because why not waiting 2 more years, even though there is a new version, but at least they have a chance. This time it came out really late, and we got a lot of feedback that this time window was way too short. And there are even certain build packs that don't have C of Linux FS4 yet. And we tell them this is the date, then C of Linux FS3 is removed. Yeah, go away, basically. That's what we that's not nice.
You can ask them to make a PR against the build pack to fix it.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. But I that would probably be a different RFC or discussion, right? To have.
Yeah. This with a 5 is something in the future, and maybe we can even wait a little bit until the whole rollout circle is over or mostly over, and then collect the feedback and then go from there. That's a different.
It's only related to this in the sense that naming, right? So if you would want to roll out the CF Linux FS4 and the compatible versions, like both versions at the same time, you would have a naming conflict, potentially. But
Yeah,
if
we
you're not
would-
planning on doing that, we could just go
We,
with.
we would need to
proposed
switch
solution.
then basically at a certain point in time the names and offer the secure version, let's say under C of Linux FS4 secure. That sounds promising. And then later the other one with compatibility, so that at least if it breaks, you have a chance to repair it fast. But then again, what does it mean for build packs? The build packs won't work because they are bound to a stack. We need to deploy then the build
Yeah.
packs again a third time. So there's more effort. That's why I would be, if possible, I mean, the maintenance effort is basically not existing, right? Because you have it there. There's no, we don't want additional patches, etc. Just, yeah, let it flowing as it comes from Canonical.
Yeah, it's basically just install 2 additional packages.
That's it.
Yeah, it might be good to comment on there that just the rigidity of the stack model in CF and the coordination with build packs and the name associations they'd make it hard to have a graceful transition to the version of CF Linux FS4 in those sites that don't have Ruby and Python bundled into them. Just to illustrate that, like, I mean, just from an operational and end user perspective for the developers, like, it's gonna seem a lot simpler just to write out CF Linux FS4 with this single version where there's the Ruby and Python in there, and that doing like a hard rug sweep a year into that, where you're just like, okay, we're doing a CF Linux FS4 update, but this one's going to remove Ruby and Python, so watch out. Like, that's the easiest operationally. Then you don't have to juggle 2 different variants of the same logical stack, but you're going to break a lot of apps still probably because people aren't going to take action, especially if they don't have any safe way of testing that their apps are compatible.
Yep, I think we can write a comment, a response, and then.
Yeah, I can also update the PR with the question and answers. Yeah, and so then afterwards we can go with. You can have a look and approve if it looks okay.
Yeah, I'm
Regarding the deprecation time or the time we want to have it, should I put it also in this PR, because this was more about providing a backwards compatible way to deal with. I'm not sure what are the timelines, how long we want to provide it, and so on belongs to this RFC.
Would say so, right? Like the thing Stephan said, where we want to basically provide it until the end of the CF Linux FS4 stack, right?
Yeah.
Then we stop shipping. We should just keep shipping that version.
just to check, have folks seen Rob's response that's come in whilst we've been talking? Because Rob isn't thrilled with the idea of supporting it until 2026. So I guess my question is, what is the support burden there? Because presumably Rob knows something that makes this not trivial.
I mean,
So
I don't know the details, but so it might be worth asking. But I imagine it's running parallel versions of pipelines and release cutting processes. Like there is overhead associated to maintaining another Bosch release, and there's that's more complexity and effort to wrangle. And this is also going to be kind of a weird little backwater for the most part. And so people are going to forget this context and not understand what happens. And there may be some questions about like, what do we need to do to make sure that we're like, that we didn't break this thing.
So can we say that we want to do this until CF Linux FS5 ships? Or do we, like, how much overlap do we want with CF Linux FS5?
From customer perspective, again, you have this problem that you would then break their apps, and I mean, they could migrate to CF Linux FS5, and they have then the first time a chance to test. But CF Linux FS5 has probably its own challenges, like OpenSSL with CF Linux FS4, which is one of the interesting things. Or yeah, it's difficult. I also don't like this proposal with the versioning. 2 different versions for the same stack. This is, I think, a no-go. So I like.
I would be in favor of definitely run this till the end of CF Linux FS4. It feels like a breaking change. Like semantically would be horrible to suddenly break it in the middle of its lifetime without bumping the major version. So for me, no go. I could go either way on whether we have it as 2 things named CF Linux FS4 or one named FS4, one named FS4 Compat or whatever. It might, the sensible thing, pragmatic thing to do might be to just seed to the organization with who this will most impact, which I'm guessing is SAP.
Yeah, if you haven't yet started with the rollout of CF Linux FS4, then you can be relaxed, right? Because then you can avoid this incompatible change. But for us, let's say this rollout is already running, and it's running big time. So it's not just a few starters; it's really in the middle of. And yeah.
I mean, does anybody have any objections in principle to rolling with whatever makes it easiest for SAP in this case?
I mean, I don't have any objections in principle. Maybe it might help to get more information from Rob and Ryan Moran and other folks that know the details of this. Like maybe there are parts of the CI and maintenance burden that SAP folks could help take on, because again, we're doing this principally for the benefit of your large environments.
Also, we might want to discuss the testing scope, right? Because I'm imagining that we would like just test against the non-compatible version, right? So we test all build packs and stuff against it, because the compatible version is just adding 2 packages. It shouldn't be breaking anything, but maybe we could make that explicit that we don't want to do any additional testing. We just want to provide an additional thing at release time. Is that good enough, or do we want to and then just rely on if there happens to be an incompatible issue? I cannot imagine where that would come from. Then it would be upon SAP to catch those in their integration environments.
So what, I mean, of course, we do test it in our own QA processes, that's for sure. And then we would report bugs and hold back the versions. But what we also discussed, we don't know yet how it gets integrated. But one idea would be that we provide an ops file to exchange the 2 CF Linux FS4 versions. And there is in the CF deployment pipelines one job that is used today to test experimental ops files, and that could be so it's not the standard validation, but for instance, here we have switched off CF API v2. That's tested actually, that there's no cuts test or whatever, still relying on V2 somehow, that such regressions don't come in, and such a pipeline, an additional one, or simply reusing it and configuring it there could be something to have earlier feedback already in CF deployment validation. That's something, yeah, we can definitely take over. In the building of the stack, etc., here we would need to discuss in more detail because we have no real experience. But yeah, let's talk about those efforts, and then we go from there, I guess.
Okay, so conclusion then is to write up the proposal to, well, Stephan, if you could write up what works for you, and then ask the build packs folks to weigh in and find out how this impacts them. And then I guess we can talk about this. Well, wait for their feedback next week. Does that sound like a reasonable course of action?
Yeah.
Have I missed anything important?
Could also maybe, if possible, invite them to the next TOC meeting to have here a real discussion, and not just if that's possible.
Yeah, I'll bring that on the thing to remind me for next time.
Sooner or later it will become urgent, because you can imagine what we are currently doing with the stack, and that's not a healthy situation.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, actually, quite usefully, the next people to come in would be Paquetto anyway. So it'd be Ryan.
Okay, yeah.
That works out nicely.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay.
Before you start with your update, we have some questions for you.
Oh yeah, that's how you encourage people to work together in the TOC.
Can we make your life more difficult, please? Okay.
Well, I'm glad that we've got good commentary going. I'm hoping we can also resolve a bunch of this asynchronously even before then, over the next few
Possibly,
days.
yeah.
Okay, yeah. Then I guess, Beyhan, we sit together and write an answer on this.
Yeah.
And then.
Okay. I'll take that PR. Are there any other PRs that people want to look at? I didn't see any. They all look like working group issues to me. I've updated the branch protection issue just to note that things got merged, that one of the working groups had it enabled, and they will eventually make it available to others.
Yeah, so application runtime deployments, it's working, and we also cleaned up the bots. There were old bots and new bots, etc. So that's now, I think there's still one thing open. We wanted to get rid of all direct configured access that bypasses basically the teams that are still on some repositories. That's, I think, still work in progress. And yeah, when this is all done, then I'm not aware of any issues. So it seems to work on the normal daily work and cutting releases work. So I would say from application runtime deployments point of view, this one worked out well.
Perfect. Anybody else have anything else they want to talk about? No?
Yeah,
all right.
Thing,
oh, sorry, go.
There was an ask if we might want to move the Bosch.io domain into the foundation.
You're very difficult to understand, so something is.
That is horrible. Is it better?
No.
Well, a little bit.
I think the question was, does the Bosch.io domain want to be transferred to the foundation? I can't imagine there's a reason why not. It's part of our world, right? I guess this is a question for Chris, maybe. Yeah. Do you want to wait to ask Chris next time, or do you want to chase him in private?
Yeah, I'm already doing that.
Cool.
No, I just want
to
see if there's any
Oh yeah.
disconnecting my headset worked.
Magic.
Yes, Bluetooth is some magical thing.
For a value of magic.
Yes.
All right. Anything else? No? All right, folks. Well, let us go have a day or an evening or an afternoon or whatever it is. All right.
Okay.
Catch you next week.
See you next week.
See you.
Thanks,
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.